Welcome to Parenting Successful Teens, the podcast that cuts through the overwhelm and stress of this phase and offers parents simple, practical, cognitive, science-based strategies for keeping their teens on track. Join Master Coach and real-life mom, Allie Irwin, to talk about real teens, real problems, and the skills it takes to raise successful adults.
My son played the Fleetwood Mac song Landslide in his second grade recital. They used it to close out the show, and he was a smash hit. And I love that he was playing this rather than Old MacDonald or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or whatever it is they teach beginning guitar players. But the lyrics of Landslide have always been kind of a bummer to me. The chorus goes, I should definitely not sing this. Well, I've been afraid of changing because I've built my life around you. But time makes you bolder. Even children get older. And I'm getting older too. And at the time, I would have said that that was just a musical preference, that I wasn't into Fleetwood Mac, I was into other bands. But the truth is, those lyrics struck too close to home. I gave up so much to be a stay-at-home mom. I had a really promising career when I started my family. I was a star. Promotions ahead of time, moved locations on request. But when my kid got sick, I quit. And then we moved, and then I had a second kid, and then we moved again. And by then, I was 100% stay-at-home mom. Like a really, really good one. Bedtime stories, organic carrots, journaling, so they practiced writing every day. We bought a house in the best school district where we walked to school every day and played outside. We had Halloween block parties. I chaperoned every field trip. I found the secret best pediatrician. I coached lacrosse, which I learned by watching it on YouTube before I went to practice each week. I did it all. Not in an uptight way, in a genuine way. I wanted my kids to have the best. And so I was determined to be the best mom I could, which is pretty typical. A lot of my peers in the town we were living in at the time were also like high-performance career women who had chosen to stay home and had made their family their career, not out of like some, keep up with the Joneses thing, but because they genuinely loved their families and wanted to be the best. And yet, a whole ton of bad stuff happened to my family. All of my efforts didn't protect us from heartbreak. At different times, both of my kids were cyberbullied, individually and for different reasons, like get the police involved, kind of cyberbullying. There was a time when both of my kids were sick, and I seriously considered the possibility that I might lose them. Not lose them like I once did on a field trip to the Bronx Zoo, but like I could lose them like they could die. But here's the interesting side effect that all my efforts did bring. Or maybe it's the main effect. All that stuff we did mattered. All of the scrappy, let's figure it out, committed to them days I spent taught them to be scrappy and to figure things out and to commit to things and people that they love. My oldest moved to Europe at 19 with really only the chutzpah that a 19-year-old can have and a vague promise from his future boss that talk to me about a job when you get here. And then that kid hustled and worked his way to the top of his field, the top. And then he decided to go a different direction and enrolled himself in a degree at a top university, still in Europe, and continued to do both, work and go to school. Really, just like he had since he was in high school. All the times that I stood by them when some nonsense was going down taught them to stand by themselves when some nonsense was going down, which, you know, is a frequent feature of being a human. All the times that I went against the norm because it better suited me, even small stuff like not trying to be friends with the cool lacrosse parents, I showed them how to go their own way and make choices about what they wanted to do. Like when my youngest eschewed all the normal college extracurriculars and the parties and all of the things that we kind of associate with being in college, and instead built 2 houses with Habitat for Humanity and tutored hundreds of hours because it was important to her that no one quit engineering just because they came to college from a high school that had them less prepared. She appreciated where she came from, and she used that to help others. So I'm not telling you this to brag, or at least not mostly to brag, but to say that what I did, what you do, it matters. Our society measures such a narrow range of things when they talk about children being successful. And weirdly, even some of those measures are out of our control, like literally going to college during a pandemic. But if you zoom out a bit and look at the big picture, you can see your influence. It isn't like you tell them to pick up their backpack and remember their cleats, and then they do, and then you know you had an influence. It's more like you tell them 1,000 times, and then they learn to be responsible about the things they care about. And then they do something with that responsibility that is unique to them. But it was all built on what you taught them. And yet, the truth of the matter for me is that I worked myself out of a job. While they will always need my love and I will always need theirs, they don't need me. And there's a grief there over the loss of identity I had for all of those years. And there's a nuance there, and it's difficult to explain. Because even though I've worked as a successful coach for almost a decade, my life was built around them. They were at the center. And now my youngest moves to Japan next week for a 3-month assignment, meaning both of my babies will live on different continents than I do. And it's really hitting me this week that they are fully functioning adults. And I don't regret building my life around them. If I had to do it all over again, I would. And I wouldn't change a thing. Maybe, if I'm being honest, I'm disappointed at the outcome of us all living on different continents. But there is no disappointment in who they are, or who I am, or who we are as a family. So, it's time for me to shift my focus in a genuine way towards a new project. I'm calling it Project Joy 2023. And the crux of it is that I'm truly turning towards what brings me joy. Not in a rainbows and bubble bath and surface level, Instagram inspo sort of way. Not even in a treat yourself, like Parks and Rec sort of way, which, by the way, I'm totally down for. It's more like, what can I let go of? What can I let go of that old identity that where I had put my kids, my family at the center of my life? And again, there's some nuance here because they will never not be the center of my life. You can see I'm still working this out. But it's more like, what can I let go of so that I can focus more on what brings me joy? Simple things like tossing out this kind of cute pair of heathered socks that I paid a little bit too much for at J.Crew, but weirdly hurt my feet. Not sure how cotton can be aggressive, but there it is. These socks are, and every time I put them on, I wear them because I spent money on them, but they do not make me happy. I do not want to go for a long walk on a beautiful spring day in them. So from little things like that to bigger things, like shifting a long-term pattern with an extended family member that is always making slightly passive-aggressive comments to me that I just let slide because I value the relationship and I don't want to start a fight. But that relationship does not bring me joy. And I'm going to restructure it in a way. I'm going to find a way to have the conversations that need to be had so that that connection can feel more joyful. I'm going to be sweeping through multiple areas of my life. Stuff like why it's so hard to let go of our things, to family dynamics like forgiveness, to how we use our time, to finding your style so that your closet truly reflects who you are today and isn't just what was on sale or what you spent slightly too much money on or what you're like sort of too lazy to replace. That is also me. So if you're interested in finding more joy and finding your joy, get on my mailing list now. I don't want you to miss out. No matter where you are in your parenting journey, one day you're going to be where I am, where your kids don't need you to play the role that you've been playing. And so it's never too early or too late to start finding out what brings you more joy. You can get on my list by signing up using the link in the show notes, or you can DM me on Instagram. I'm Allie, ALLIE .p.irwin. You should also follow me on Instagram because I share a lot of great stuff there. Even if you don't DM me and get on my list, which you also should. So, just do it all. I'm hoping you'll join me. It's going to be a great party, which for an introvert is saying a lot.